easy pronunciation. Just a little bit background about myself. Me and Chris, we are a university professors at Thammasat School of Engineering, one of the oldest university in Thailand. And my background is in software engineering and computer science research. I did a lot, pretty much of a research in VR, AR technology, and all of the passion started from the mobile AR headset and into desktop AR, which you will about to see as well. And I had the opportunities to kind of live all over the place. I used to live in the US, in Japan, in France. So as you can see, armory and military artifacts are very close to my heart. So just to begin, about a little bit background about the technologies that we are going to be working with. It is actually started, it was introduced by Professor Colin Ward back in 1900s, late 1900s. Back then, the system itself was pretty much used on the CRT screen with a mechanical device to track your head. So around 10 to 12 years ago, one of the viral videos from Johnny Lee research became prominent in the YouTube space. So in these videos, I was an IBM worker at the time, and I came across this tech where he talked about how desktop AR can be used to create the illusion of hologram. So if you can look at the video right now, you will see flat screen, just like what you would expect. But with a specialized device, when you add that head tracking mechanisms, when you look at different angle of the screen, it creates the popping out illusion of, from the screen. It actually make it feels like very holographic, just like what we saw from the movies, sci-fi movies. And that's when I thought to myself, when I was working at the IBM, how comes nobody is working on these technologies? So I decided to quit my job and pursue my research into these technologies, this virtual reality system. Moving forward, about 8 years ago, I started building my own systems and started experiment with various visual cue and how we perceive depths and how we can mimic those depth perceptions using computer systems. And this is one of the first system that I made when I was in France. Moving along where we are right now, which you will get to play in a moment. Now we pretty much mitigate all the hardware aspects out of it. So with the current system, we are able to have normal computers, laptop computers, just like what we are using now to run this desktop AR experience at your home, basically. And that's what we are really passionate about, is to enable as many people as we can into this experience and into this technology. The company itself, the research started back in 2013. And back in 2018, we received one of the grants from one of the oldest bank in Thailand, Siam Commercial Bank. So that's when we are able to turn our research and our passion into startups. And currently, the company itself is supported by the UK government, Department of International Trade, under the Global Entrepreneurial Programs, and is supported by multiple international investors from the US and in Singapore. But if you look at the problem at the educational sectors at the moment, you'll see that it has been proven to some degrees that immersive techs really help that learning experience and help improve engagement for the students. But the main question is that why don't we see more of mixed reality in schools? So if you think about it, the schools have to pay roughly around 40,000 to 150,000 US per system. And if you even have the money, you have to get history teachers and PE teachers and all of the area of studies to try these new technologies. And if you can even go through all of that, the school have to invest in a specialized IT staff and have a dedicated user space for the learning experience in a tangible way. And that's going to hinder the economy of scale. So what we did, our goal now is to help reduce that cost for the schools and for the museum audience. Instead of having to pay $3,500 per headset, they can just make these red and blue glasses that you got, and you can play it at home. And our passion here is to democratize mixed reality learning experience for all and help museums reaching audience beyond the museum's wall. So with that, where we are right now, we are working with the Imperial War Museums and the Science Museum groups on a holographic exhibition projects that we will turn their 3D model artifacts into a holographic representation, holographic exhibitions that students, 20,000 students in the UK and in Thailand can access and learn it at their home without having to travel to the museums. And this collaboration projects, this partnership projects is still open to many, to all of the museums all around the world. So if anyone's are interested into exploring this kind of collaborations with us, we are happy to do so. And this is a pro bono project, so it won't cost the museums anything. I'd like to point out here, before I pass the mic on to Chris, is that the technology itself can be used for other areas as well, like commerce, games, entertainment, and travel tech. And just to like touch on where we are experimenting as well into helping museums financially through the art patronage with the Holo NFT. So currently we are exploring the turning of 3D models into what we call the holographic collectible items, but it is not our focus for this workshop. It's just something that if you like to have further discussions with me on it, I'm happy to do so afterward. With that, I can pass the mic on to Chris, our CTOs and one of the world leading scientists on preservation of historical sites in Southeast Asia. Chris, you are.
Yeah, can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much for the introduction. So yeah, hopefully I'll, as Rabbi said, I've been working on historical site for quite some time. Actually, my name is Chris, so I'm a CTO of Perceptions, and also as part of, I'm also wearing another hat as a researcher. So I've been working at, as a technologist in VR, machine learning. I actually finished my undergrad and PhD from Cambridge University, and so I've been in the UK for more than 10 years. And now what I'm working on is basically working on deep learning and computer visions, and basically on historical sites, because what I am very interested in is we want to basically inspect all the damage and everything on the surface level of the World Heritage Site. And actually, when I come back to Thailand, being a professor and also being a researcher, I start to get working on, I have many opportunities to work on this historical site, which I'm going to show you later. So next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is, I got many opportunities to work with many organizations in my research. So we got funding from Thailand Research Fund, and then throughout that, then we get access to all the World Heritage sites in Thailand. So we work with UNESCO, we work with the Fine Art Department, and I also work in University of Cambridge. I go back as a fellow as well. And then, all of this work is done through my work at university. And so basically what I do is I do photogrammetry. So basically, essentially I collect 3D models from pictures. So you see later on that my equipment is basically just a drone, fly a drone, and then I use all of these pictures that collected from a drone and then create 3D models out of it. And throughout this research program, actually, the reason Rabbit that said I'm a leading researcher, I guess, because I have won many awards from my research, and also the best journal as well. And also this one is a rare picture of me that I don't really want to show, but it's one of me wearing official outfit. And this work we presented to the Crown Princess of Thailand. So we are very proud of that. Next slide, please. So moving on to, so the way that I come about to work with perception is that I got these 3D models, and Rapid actually put it in the system. And as soon as I saw it, I'm like, wow, this is amazing, because the third dimension for me as an inspector is really adding that another dimension, and you can really inspect the model. And this is why we really want to have you to have the same experience. It's immersive, and the third dimension, when you play around and interact with the model, is so intuitive that it's nothing like it before. Now this is the full system, but what you get to see is the the version that we use red and blue filter, but minimal equipment, and it's all accessible to all. So I think this is going to be very fun for you. Next slide, please. So so basically my work is on one of my work is basically on photogrammetry. So hopefully if you haven't heard about it, then you can message me afterward. But basically all of my equipment is a drone. All of the cameras equipment, so digital camera, mobile phone, and we basically control a drone and manual taking pictures from all historical sites. So the way that we take pictures are by scanning and by taking pictures around the object of interest, and that's how we get the image. All right, lots and lots of image. And then next slide, please. And then so I just want to show you our team as well. So this is us going into real site. We go around the site of Thailand. We got like very expert drone flyer. So I mean, anyone, sort of everybody can do it, but to get to the quality that we got now, so we need some kind of expert. But I go around, we go around the site, a lot of sites in Thailand to collect all of the temples around Thailand. So I basically have quite a number of models in my data set right now. Next slide, please. So this is just some example of the site that I've been working with. So I've shown you 3 of the site that I'm very proud of. One is the historical site in Ayutthaya, which is basically the former capital of Thailand. And the second one is Sukhothai. It's also a UNESCO site as well. So that's basically the first former Thai capital. So it's a big site, and we basically managed to capture a lot of these models into a very, very fine detail as well. So, I mean, it takes like a week to do that, but, comparing to other different technology, actually, this one is very good to make 3D models. And then the last one is the Mahathat in the south of Thailand. And this one, we help them as a scientific panel to actually submit for qualification for UNESCO World Heritage Site, and is under review right now. Okay, next slide, please. And then this is just one of the examples. So I just want to show you, this is basically throughout my work. Then I do it because I want to inspect using deep learning and all that, and basically inspect the current conditions. And our work actually won many awards as well. And also we have a lot of press coverage in Thailand because of our work. Next slide, please. And this is one example of the 3D model that we captured. This is one of the white temple in Thailand, and this site is now being under review by UNESCO, and hopefully it will get qualified as a part of the World Heritage Site. And the last site that I want to show you, next slide, please. So this one is slightly laggy, but it's also a Cambodia or Khmer temple. This is one of the big civilization in the past. It's basically a replica of Angkor Wat, if you have been. And this one, this is all 3D model. You can actually look outside, and also interior, you can also see it. So this is all 3D model. But you can see, you look at it in 2D screen, it's different. But if you actually see these in 3D, completely different experience. Okay, so now I'm going to stop talking, and then I'm going to hand the mic over to Francis.
If I may plug in a little bit, for the upcoming workshops, we prepare an application for you to play with Mars rover, satellites, and lander from NASA. It is not an official collaboration project, but it is something that we made for educational purpose and to share it with schools. Hope you enjoy playing with the Perseverance and the Curiosity rovers in particular. So thank you very much, everyone, for your time.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks both. Yes, as Robert said, we've got a sample exhibition for you guys to play around with. I'm just going to share my screen to tell you how you go about downloading it. So all you need to do is go to this website here, and it should come up with something like this. and you'll need to either download it for Windows or download for Mac, depending on your system that you're working with. So yeah, I hope we can all get to that okay. Of course, if you're having any issues with that, please just let us know, just call out or chat, give a message on the chat. You'll probably need to just give it permission and let it install, and that should eventually come up with an icon on your desktop, and that's very easy, and then you just simply click on that and it should start everything up. Just to know, I did see all you had anyway, but please turn off your Zoom camera when you start the actual application up, just because Zoom uses a lot of CPU, so we don't want your computers crashing. And once you're logged in, you might need just to play around with settings, but we can tell you how to get there. So I'm gonna has everyone managed to get to that web page now? Yeah, I'm gonna stop sharing. I'll post it in the chat as well, if people are struggling. Oh yeah, no worries. What we can do, we've got a backup plan. Claude has very kindly offered he can hopefully share it via his Zoom. So all you'll need is basically the blue and red glasses, so we can do that as well. But obviously the best experience for this is to actually download it yourself, but you'll get the idea essentially through the sharing of the screen as well. So Claude, where are you?
Hi, Francis. Yeah, I was busy typing, so unfortunately, anyone looking at it from my screen won't be able to have that experience with their head moving around and then the model tracking your moves. But you can't see me, but I'll pop my head around as much as I can to give you an idea.
Perfect. Thanks for that.
Yeah, you keep moving your head, Claude.
Yeah, so put your glasses on.
As I then move my head around, the model is trying to track my face, which does look a bit odd now. But what I'm going to do is I'll go into the satellite over here and you can have a better look.
Just to let you know, if you are wearing glasses, you can wear this paper glass on top of your glasses, because I'm the glasses wearer as well. So it works very well.
So we can zoom into the model over here, move it around, zoom it.
And of course, if anyone's having any issues, please just shout out or give us a message.
Claude, if you can share one of the rovers with us, it is one of my favorite. That would be really, really cool. And while we are playing with this, I like to point out that originally the research for this kind of a system known as desktop AR or fish tank VR, the idea here is to create stereo image or 3D image that match with the user perspective. And that was the whole introduction by Professor Colin Ward, as I mentioned. So with that core technologies in place, it doesn't have to be the red and blue glasses in the future. Right now in research, we are working toward having it available on tablet and mobile device, but even to the point that you don't even need glasses at all, which I think the technology is called the auto stereoscopic display. So definitely it is, this is the first step toward that vision and that future. And it is the first step, and it is the most accessible step. And with basically opening up for everyone to enjoy this experience. And that's our goal. Oh, and this is the rover, yeah.
And what other sample exhibitions do you guys have on offer at the moment in case anyone wanted to look at any others after the workshop?
Oh, so on the Mars rover apps, you can play with all of the moons, including Phobos as well. All of these models are officially given, shared on the internet by NASA. However, the official projects, the official exhibitions with the museums, the Imperial War and the Science Museum groups in London will be live next month. There, from the Science Museum Group, we will be showcasing Stephenson rocket, one of the first locomotive that was built in 1800s. And as for the Imperial War museums, we will be showcasing Rolls-Royce Merlin engine, one of the basically engine from the Spitfire plane from the World War II. So hopefully people, students from all around the world can learn more about these wonderful piece of engineering that we had created in the past. Mm-hmm. And beside from this Holo Mars, you can also find some games and some of the some games on the website as well, so you can play around if you feel like it. Mm-hmm.
Anyone got any questions that they have? Any particularly any kind of technical questions?
I think we have a quick question here from Bhaskar. Is it possible to project this app screen on projector screen? And the answer is yes. And we had an actual, we did a workshop with 2 international schools in Thailand. They are UK-based international schools, and the teacher quickly find that they can project this in front of the screen and have students looking at it. Of course, the experience is not ideal as we would have one-to-one viewing setup, but the effect itself draw attention enough and improve and increase that engagement from the students drastically. So yes, you can do it with the screen, but you may need to set up the cameras a little bit. But ultimately, it will be a little bit difficult because the whole system that we design are designed for laptop and desktop computer, but definitely it's possible.
May I ask a question? I'm kind of curious whether you're also experimenting how this would work with 2D images and videos, or are you only kind of working with 3D objects?
Yes. So with the 2Ds and videos, what we can have is treat the 2D image as if it is a painting, or the videos as an LCD screen. So we can have it floating in the 3D environments. That is one thing. However, I like to point out that there are technologies that convert to the image into a 2.5D, where you have a layer of a 2D image laying on top of one another. And when you look from different angles, you have that parallax effect as well. We do work with some of the world leading artists and graphical artists that are experimenting with this kind of technology. So if you're like to explore on that, we can definitely be looking to it.
Yeah, I would be very interested because I work at the Netherlands Institute for Sound and Vision, which is the national audiovisual archive in the Netherlands. So obviously we're working mostly with audiovisual materials. So I would be curious to see how this technology translates to that.
Oh yes, and I forgot to mention as well that we can definitely add audio like narrators behind it, audio and sound effects to mimic the actual experience. For example, the Spitfire, the Rolls-Royce Merlin engine, will be adding an actual sound of it, which is unique sound of the engines into the exhibition as well. And we can even also add a narrator if you like to have as well.
Thank you.
Great. Well, Claude, if you could stop sharing your screen, and what we'll do next is the plan is to get people kind of into breakout rooms, and it'd be great to hear your thoughts in more detail. I think for the size of us, I think perhaps just 2 breakout rooms will probably do. And yeah, we've got a couple of themes for you to kind of start thinking about, just to kind of prompt conversation. I'll just share that quickly. So yeah, so the kind of ideas that we would love to hear more about is particularly in terms of audience, and if you particularly work for an institution, you know, does this relate to a specific audience type that you have? And do you think this could potentially draw in new audiences for you? We'd love to hear your thoughts about accessibility as well, like how accessible do you think this is, inclusive as well, and of course, how could we potentially improve this with certain disabilities in mind? Education, of course, is a really important one, and could this kind of fit into educational programs, and do you think there might be any barriers? And of course, the audience experience, how have you found downloading it? How have you found experiencing it if you've managed to get into the actual app? And of course, what do you think about this being experienced on a museum website versus perhaps a physical space? Would this require any extra resources in order to do that? For example, do you think you'd need to have a person next to the technology in a physical space in order for people to understand how it works? And an absolutely optional one is to talk about the NFT aspect. And of course, if you don't know what NFTs are, don't worry about it, or I'm happy to brief you a bit more about what they are. But they are essentially just a way for you to sell digital files online. And whether you think this could be a potential market for GLANs, particularly when we're thinking about fundraising and development as well. So these are just kind of ideas for you to think about. Please don't feel obliged to be limited to these thoughts. And yeah, I'll just stop recording as well.